Being a Christian woman and walking in God's calling for our lives can be a difficult task. With the world and pop culture telling us to be one way, and the Bible saying another, you kind of end up feeling like an other. Well, you're not alone. Join me now and my friends as we navigate life in our 20s and 30s, while making sure we live out our faith, embrace our femininity, and looking cute. We discuss pop culture, life, careers, relationships, and so much more. Prepare to be entertained and educated. I know you're going to love it. Join our movement and embrace being another girl. The views expressed on this podcast are our own and do not reflect our employers. Enjoy. Hello, everyone. You're listening to Those Are the Girls with Mallory and Friends. I'm Mallory, and me, you, we are changing culture and bringing back traditional values. Hello, welcome back to the show. If this is your first time listening, I want to kind of give you a little bit of a understanding of what you're listening to. You're listening to a pop culture podcast, where we're talking about pop culture, life, career, relationships, all of those things, but we're doing it from the Christian perspective. So you might hear some shows or some stories that we cover, or you might hear some topics. And the opinion on this show might be a little different than the opinion on other shows you listen to. Our goal is just to put out really good Christian opinion topics, I guess you could say, from that Christian perspective. So when we're talking about things like abortion, when we're talking about, OnlyFans, those type of things, the opinion coming from this show, the perspective coming from this show is going to be a different perspective than, some of the other pop culture podcasts. I'm not telling you not to listen to them, but I am telling you to listen to this one. You can listen to both. One of my favorite podcasts is The Toast, and sometimes what they talk about on The Toast, I vehemently disagree with. But I still enjoy most of the episodes, most of the conversations. Anyway, so today it is just a solo me episode. Sometimes I'll have a friend on, and because it's called Mallory and Friends, and we'll just talk about different topics. That's our Monday episode. Our Monday episode is called Teacaps, where we kind of do a recap of like what's happened this week that was interesting. And then our Thursday episodes are usually interviews. Last Thursday's episode, I interviewed or had a discussion with Carla from Culture of Life 1972. They make beautiful, really cute, fun clothes that are also modest and with lots of color, and I love them. I love the brand, and the money goes to pregnancy resource centers. I think the words they use are like life affirming organizations or something along those lines. Love them. If you're looking for cute clothes that support the values that you have, I highly recommend. Alrighty, I'm trying to think of. Yeah, so I talked to her last week, and we talked about like Proverbs 31, and a lot of really good nuggets in that episode. I'm still thinking about some of the things that we talked about, and as I'm recording this on Sunday, this episode comes out on Monday. Saturday night, I went to this really cool worship night experience type thing in Charlotte, and they talked a little bit. The whole sermon, or not sermon, the whole talk wasn't about Proverbs 31, like she is clothed with strength and honor, or strength and dignity, depending on your translation. That whole talk wasn't about that, but it mentioned it. So it's just like, oh wow, those things are kind of like just sticking out to me. And that's something that I personally am going to be thinking more about. Is my life representative of someone who has strength, honor / dignity? That's just a question that I'm asking. I suggest you ask yourself the same question, because that is what God has called us to do. Alrighty. Couple announcements. Morning announcements. You should join the Patreon. Patreon is as low as $5 a month. I really think that what this podcast and some of the meetups and all these things, I think that what we have here is really, really good. I think that, it really does help when you donate. 100% of the money comes out of my pocket, except for when people donate, or when, Patreon, except for the Patreon, but 100% comes out of my pocket. So, the tea party, except for the tickets, we'll talk about that later, but like, the down payment, all that stuff came out of my pocket. So if you really like what we're doing and you want us to do more, because I do, there's so many times I want us to do more, but financially, I can't and sometimes I just can't. So if you really like what we're doing and like a lot of the things that we're producing, for example, I'll talk about it in a second, our Share the Love Party. If you really like that and you want to be a part of that, you want to, say that you have helped and contributed financially, paying $5 a month for the Patreon would be such a blessing. I mean, we also have levels for $20 and $40 as well. That would be such a blessing to just to ramp up the podcast and, make it better, get some better marketing, have us to do more in-person meetups. I really want to do more in-person meetups. I would love to do a meetup once a month because I do think like a huge thing that's going to help us as people grow and help us change culture is that one-on-one or 1 to 10, if 10 of us show up at an event, us getting to know each other and like really building community, building connection. And not only that, I know there are people listening who feel as if they are having a hard time finding friends and you don't know how to like reach out. I think this would be a absolutely great way to do that. So if you feel so called, join the Patreon. That's the first announcement. Second announcement, Saturday after this episode comes out will be our Share the Love Party. I'm really excited. We're going to be making Embrace Grace boxes, and Embrace Grace is just an organization that they do like they help mothers who have experienced unplanned pregnancies or just moms who are first time and kind of just need some extra help and they don't really have a community and they just need to feel loved. So one of the things they do is have these love boxes, and we're going to be making 15 for the women at the U City Women's Center, and that's where it's going to be. I'll link the information to come to the party. I hope to see as many people as possible. We have a couple people signed up already. If you are thinking of coming, please RSVP. I just want to know because I am going to provide lunch. So I just want to know, kind of get like a sense of how many people are going to be there. But I think this is going to be great. I think this is also just a great way for us to show our community that as pro-lifers, we're not just, standing outside of the abortion facility, quote unquote, yelling at people, which we don't do. I don't yell, so I think this is just a great way to put our money where our mouth is, except it's free. It costs you absolutely nothing. Thank you for those who donated to pay for the materials for the boxes, so that none of us had, well, I pay a little bit, but like everybody else coming, you don't have to pay for that. You're getting a free lunch, and we're going to do a tour of the Women's Center too. I'm just really excited. I'm really excited for that, and I'm praying about all of the people who are going to come, and I'm praying for all of the people who are going to receive our boxes. So that is going to be March 23rd at 10:30. We're going to be at the U City Women's Center. And the next thing that we're doing is April 6th. We have, that's our week for Love Life. And Love Life is another way for you to get involved. What they do is they have a praise and worship session right outside of the biggest abortion facility in the Southeast, the one in Charlotte. And then we go and we walk around and we pray. You don't have to talk to anybody. You don't have to interact. As a matter of fact, they ask us not to do that. If that's something that you're interested in, talk to me and I can help set you up with that. But really, our goal is just to pray. And then I really think it's just a good thing for you to see and experience, because I think when you're so detached from what the reality of abortion is, you don't see one, but you can see people in the cars going inside. You can see the people call them the death squads, the people who are wearing the rainbow stuff, trying to get you, silence us. Sometimes they can say kind of a little bit of mean, grotesque things to us. When you see that, I think that also helps you know how to pray, and then it just kind of puts everything in perspective, so you can see that it really is good versus evil, right versus wrong. That's the other thing. And then the very last thing is our tea party, our second annual official tea party. I am so excited for this tea party. It is going to be at a Cause for Tea. The tickets are available now. They're $40, but that includes the tea. That includes the pastries, and you'll be entered to win tons of giveaways. I've been talking with different sponsors. I've just been talking with various people. And I'm just really excited for this tea party. I think we're going to have a lot of fun. And one thing that, I am very big on is looking cute, dressing up, yada yada. And I think this will just be a good time for you to do that if you haven't done that in a while. one of the girls last year made a comment, something like, "Oh, I never really like to dress up, but I'm really glad I did," because you just feel it's fun. Like, if you feel great. My dress came in. I'm not gonna tell anyone what it is. My dress came in. I'm really excited for it. It is so cute. Um, and I'm just excited. I'm excited for that, and I'm excited for us, for the conversations we're going to have, the discussions. And then I really think that this will just be a great community meetup. If you're going by yourself and you just really need new friends, like, this will be a great, absolutely great experience for you. I'm trying to think anything else, any other announcements. I think that's it on announcements. I did it all within 10 minutes. Now we get into the stories. I only have 3 stories this week. I think, let me triple check. Yeah, there's only really 3 stories. Oh no, I think there's 4 stories. 1, 2, excuse me, there's 4 stories. But some of them aren't really like a lot. And I feel like I'm about to sneeze. It's gone. Anyway, so these are our stories. What we do right before we do the stories is we clink. So, this is my other girls. See, it's kind of the Barbie font, like other girl, ooh, Barbie. Barbie girl, other girl. This is my, it's called a wine cooler tumbler. Oh, no, not a wine cooler, called a wine tumbler or something like that. Anyway, I love it. And I'm actually drinking the Tropical Punch Olipop. Super good. But I think it's more fun to drink it out of like a glass like this. So, everybody, raise your glasses and let's get into the stories. Clink. All right. First story. Okay, so the first story is kind of like a medium-sized story. I heard this on another podcast. I actually stopped what I was doing and look it up because I was like, surely this can't be the truth. Do you guys remember the documentary on Netflix called Don't F Word with Cats? Well, we're going to talk about the guy that documentary is about. Actually, let me give a brief overview of what that guy did. So he released a video online of him murdering a cat or something like that. And then the internet just went trying to find out who he was. Turns out this guy had also murdered a human, and he chopped I guess trigger warning, he chopped up his body and started putting him in different places in Canada, and then he fled the country. And just a completely deranged human. It was actually I remember watching the documentary and kind of almost thinking this isn't real. I had to look up the guy because it felt so Hollywood. It just didn't feel like a true story to me when I was watching the documentary. But then I looked into it and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is a monster. A terrible human being, an absolute monster. And let me tell you something else too. I believe in grace and redemption and forgiveness and all those other things. But you have to repent and you have to actually be sorry. The thing that's scary and why I feel so comfortable calling this person an absolute monster is because he's not sorry. He's not remorseful. He's just oh, here's what I did. Terrible, terrible human. Okay. Oh, and then he I don't remember the full. Honestly, I think I might rewatch the documentary. It was at one point he was saying that he had a boyfriend that did all of these things, and his mom was on his side, which is always crazy to me. I'm not a mom, and I'm not a boy mom especially, but I just think it's always, from the perspective as just a regular human, I just think it's so crazy how some of these moms stand by their monsters of sons. But anyway, let me read to you the article. So this is from the Daily Mail. Luka Magnotta is moved to a medium security Canadian prison after claiming to be trans, despite causing outrage by dismembering student making feline torture videos. Luka Magnotta, who was found guilty of the murder of June Lin, was transferred to a medium security prison after revealing that he wants to be a woman. The gruesome acts of the killer, Magnotta, were featured in the release of the 3-part Netflix docuseries Don't F with Cats, Hunting an internet killer. You can read the full article. That was just kind of like a summary. I don't want to read the full thing. A couple of things I want to say about this. First of all, in the middle of Women's Month, that was kind of humor. But in all seriousness, this is awful. I think that, being moved to a lower security prison, I think the crazy thing is, like, he's not remorseful. He's not someone who we can say, like, oh, he has spoken with the family, he's just so sorry. That's just not his story. And being moved to medium security, claiming to be trans, how awful. And I think this is just another example of men invading women's spaces, and then B, I think this is another example of, like, when we want to talk about misogyny and, like, patriarchy and blah blah blah, like, this is an example of it. Because well, first of all, this is also what happens when you kind of just let people say and believe what they want. I don't for a second think that this person is trans. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that. I do think there are people who have body dysmorphia, and I think that should be treated. I don't think the treatment is a transition. That's just my personal opinion. But I do think there are people who have body dysmorphia. I also think that there are people who are using it. And this is what I think, when people are so like, oh, conservatives, they just hate trans people. I think this is just an example of, like, what we're afraid of. And I guess my thing is, like, okay, let's say he is struggling with his, I guess it's just also so hard for me to imagine, like, I'm in jail. I have a million other things that I need to be worrying about. Why am I worried about my sexual identity? Or, like, why would I be worried about what gender I am if I'm in jail? I mean, that's the other thing too. Because what I was going to say is, I'm like, could he be sitting in his jail cell, in solitary confinement while he's reading? Could he start struggling with his gender identity? I just can't imagine. Like, there's so many other things that I think are just more important that would probably be going through your mind during this time, that I just have a hard time believing that he's going to sit there and be like, yeah, I'm struggling with this particular thing. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think he's truly trans? Do you think that this person, and let's say he is trans, do you think he should be moved to a medium security prison when he isn't remorseful? Do you think that's, like, a good idea? I don't, like, well, I do know. I don't think it's a good idea, but let me know. Do you guys think it's a good idea? Do you think that, and I guess this is the next question, if someone is a murderer, or let's even say a rapist, if someone is a murderer or a rapist, do they get to say, like, is gender identity, should that be factored into where they are placed? Should they have the most comfortable things, or is that something that you have to give up if you decide to take someone's life or take someone's innocence or something like that? Like, yeah, let me know. Oh, that could be, like, this week's question. Like, is that, when you commit such a heinous crime to another human being, is that something you kind of forfeit your comfort in your sexuality? Yeah, your right to live how you quote unquote identify? And that's the question. Let me know. Let's see. I'm trying to think of the order of the next three. I guess the next one, I'll just keep it in the order it's in. Okay, so the next story, this is the name on everyone's lips. You guys have guessed. I'll let you guess. 1 second or 2 seconds. 1, 2. Kate Middleton. We're going to talk about what's going on with Kate Middleton. Well, first of all, I want to come at what's going on. We're going to talk about what's going on with her. The reality is, no one knows. So I don't care who you're listening to. Like, even me, like, I don't really know. I can only speculate. We can only look at, like, the information we've given to me. Nobody knows. So, the people who are like, oh, I know what's going on. No, you don't. This is from Evie Magazine. Is Kate Middleton stepping away from royal duties? Some sites claim that Kate Middleton is permanently stepping away from royal duties, and the Prince William is reportedly beside himself over it. What's the truth? According to a recent post from the Kensington Palace account on X, Kate Middleton is reported to have broken her silence. No one believes him, though, especially since the photograph that they posted of Middleton was allegedly altered from the original. Middleton apologized for her Photoshop fails on X and stated that she's been working on her editing skills. The audience has two lingering questions about this. One, how do they know it's Middleton? And two, why don't they just upload the original image? More theories were fueled and conflicting information arose. Some reports state that Middleton is stepping away from her royal duties. I think, let me actually kind of explain what's going on, because some people, now that I'm thinking about it, they might not fully understand. Kate Middleton technically has not been seen since December of last year, which is kind of strange. The Crown announced that she had abdominal surgery. Now, there was recently a picture of her in a car. People don't believe that's recent. And for those that do not know, she posted a picture that was like badly photoshopped, which is crazy to me because they have access to the absolute best things. And the fact that they would post an unedited photoshopped picture, that just seems almost intentional. That's just my conspiracy brain going like, that's almost intentional, which kind of leads me, well, I'll say what I heard and what I'm maybe speculating in a second. So yeah, so that's what's going on. Everybody's like, where is this woman? What is going on? Why is this happening? More theories were fueled and conflicting information arose. Some reports say that Middleton is stepping away from her royal duties. The international news website claims Middleton is reportedly considering a permanent life out of the spotlight, and she likes the idea of much needed break from royal duties. They added that William is beside himself over her decision and is stunned his wife could ever consider such a move. This announcement remains unconfirmed. It's important to note that the National Enquirer is a known gossip tabloid. So far, it seems to be a rumor. A source told Us Weekly that Middleton is extremely keen to get back to work. This has been one of the most challenging months for Kate as royal, and she's praying that the fuss dies down as soon as possible. The outlet noted that she's focusing on recovery and quote, her mother has been a huge help, end quote, even acting as Kate's personal chauffeur, and has brought books and magazines for her to read during her convalescence. The problem is we don't know exactly when Middleton will be returning to her duties. We would like to point out that when Middleton's planned surgery was announced, it was also announced she would not return to public duties until after Easter, which is still over 2 weeks away. So that is one thing that is kind of funny about the situation. We were notified from the royals, from them, that she would return after Easter. Now, once it's after Easter, we haven't heard or seen from her. I understand like being a little bit like up in uproar. I understand that, but you know, we have like, there's still time. So she really, okay. Personally, I think she had just like a routine surgery, and it probably kind of went awry a little bit, as sometimes these things happen. And maybe I think she could have had something like done with like her uterus, or like maybe she has PCOS or endometriosis, something like that. I think something along those lines, like of reproductive organs or something around that, because I don't know if she really had stomach surgery. That's really vague. I don't know. So I think she had something along those lines, and it maybe recovery took longer than they thought. Maybe there was an infection. Maybe she was in a coma for a little bit, and the royals can't tell us that type of stuff, because you can't talk about like if they're down. I don't know the full reasoning why, but they can't tell us. So I think maybe that's what's going on, and she doesn't want to be seen. One of you guys pointed out on the Instagram, when we talked about this on Instagram, that she could have a colostomy bag and she's kind of embarrassed. That's quite possible. So when I think about that, to me, like at the very beginning, everybody was speculating, there was is she getting the BBL? Like that was funny. Now it's kind of getting to be a little bit like, okay, you guys, like you're invading her privacy a little bit too much. But when it was during that season, like, oh, she got a BBL, I like to think that she was at home recovering, scrolling Twitter and cackling at like the idea that she got a BBL, or the idea that she's with Pete Davidson. Now it's starting to be a little bit weird. But I will say, so a theory I heard is that she is fine, but Prince Charles, who randomly had a cancer diagnosis, and Harry went quick to visit and quick out. I heard a theory that all of this, so even the Photoshop job, is really just to distract us from the fact that something's going on with Prince, with King, not Andrew, King Charles. I'm gonna be honest, I thought they were the same person. The one that was on Epstein's Island, I thought he was the same one as like the other. I didn't realize they were two separate men. So Prince Andrew, I think it's King Charles. What was her husband's name? Or King Philip? Whoever the man's name is. He got cancer. William and Harry's dad. He got cancer, and someone said that they think that this is more of like a distraction. So we're not thinking about that because like that story was here and then it was gone. It was a quick story. So you guys, let me know what you think. Do you think that what's going on with Kate is like a little bit more suspicious? You know, people are saying, like, this article is saying she could be stepping down. Some people are saying that she's getting divorced. Some people are saying that she is missing. You know, let me know what you guys think. If you think that it was just like a routine surgery or something. Okay, next story. This one we might talk a little bit more about because I want to get a little personal. All right, this is from page 6. Slim down, Oprah Winfrey reveals why she left Weight Watchers board after nearly 10 years. Oprah Winfrey revealed that she left the board of Weight Watchers after nearly a decade because of her upcoming special about prescription weight loss medications. Quote, I decided that because this special was really important to me and I wanted to be able to talk about whatever I wanted to talk about. And Weight Watchers is now the business of being a weight health company that also administers drug medications for weight loss. Let me read that again. Quote, I decided that because this special was really important to me and I wanted to be able to talk about whatever I wanted to talk about. And Weight Watchers is now in the business of being a weight health company that also administers drug medications for weight. End quote. I did not, quote again, I did not want to have the appearance of any conflict of interest. End quote. I really hate how sometimes they break up the like quotes of people in articles. It just irks me. Anyway, Winfrey 70. Wow, she's 70. She looks great. Admitted in December that she used prescription medication to shed unwanted pounds after fans speculated about her dramatic weight loss for months. She didn't specify if she used Ozempic, Wegovy, or some other appetite-altering drug. So, quote, I resigned from the board and donated all my shares to the National Museum of African American History and Culture, so nobody can say, oh, she's doing that special, she's making money promoting. No, you cannot say that, end quote. Kimmel asked from the longtime spokeswoman if Weight Watchers cried when she announced her resignation, to which the OWN founder quipped, they almost did. Winfrey further admitted that while she was initially determined to lose weight without medical assistance, her doctor explained to her that she would likely always yo-yo because obesity is a disease. I've been in the storm of losing the weight, gaining it back, losing the weight, gaining it back, and what I realized is when I listened to what the doctor said, you are always going to put it back on, and it's holding your breath underwater and trying not to rise, she explained. You're always going to rise. The Color Purple star previously said that she was done with being the blame and shame for her fluctuating weight. Winfrey's and Oprah special, Shame, Blame, and Weight Loss Revolution, will air Monday at 8 p.m. ET on ABC. Your girl will be watching, first of all. So, let's talk about this really quick. Let's get a little personal. First, I want to say, I am not against Ozempic, Wegovy, or any of those drugs. I know that is strangely unpopular. I'll explain why I think it's strange that people are so, like, specifically, like, conservatives are so against it. I'll explain why in a second. I'm not against these things. Personally, I'm not on any. If I had the money and the resources, I would be. So there's that. The reason why I'm not against it is because the thing is, so let me figure out how I'm going to say this. The thing is, the thing is, these drugs are changing people's lives for the better. People who have struggled their entire life. I'm not talking about your, influencer that's skinny or your influencer that gained, 20, 30 pounds. I'm talking about people who have been fat, obese their entire life. Their lives are changing for the better. people are dropping medications. People's blood pressures have gone down. People's their blood pressure have gone down. They are losing weight. They have I should have pulled it up. I'm in a group people who are trying to lose weight, and like some people have been taking um Ozempic, and they've kind of just been like sharing like their stories, and like reading some of the people's stories make you cry. People who haven't been able to play with their kids. It's so crazy to me that there would be so many people who are so against it. People are getting off of medications that they've been on for years. It's just so crazy to me how many people are against it, especially because the people who are absolutely the meanest, absolutely say the most cruel things are people who claim to be conservative. They're the ones who are against, and it's like people are doing things to change their life. They're making their lives better, and they're taking responsibility, and you're still against it. So is it like what's the reason? I'm gonna say something that's gonna be very controversial. I think sometimes a lot of the women who are against it are the same women who would be jealous and who are not used to their fat friends, because that's another thing too. If you do some research, those of you who are trying to, this conversation is really for people who are trying to lose weight. And then if you have friends who are trying to lose weight, or if you want to, be more sympathetic to people who are struggling with obesity, this conversation is for you. If you have never gained an ounce and you think you're high and mighty, this isn't for you. Then, fast forward, listen to the next story. So, as I've started to lose weight, I've been joining like different groups and like trying to be like motivated, like listening to different people tell their stories about how much better their life is since they lost weight. And losing weight is actually incredibly hard. It's not as simple as like eat less and exercise. Because if it was as simple as eating less and exercising, so many more people would have done it. Some people, it is that simple. Some people, all they have to do is just eat less and exercise. Eating less could look like, I remember, so in sometimes I like listen to and stuff like that. This guy was explaining how for a month, all he ate was ramen. He lost a lot of weight. But think about like gout, all that salt. You think that man was healthy? No, but he did lose weight. So it's like, if that's one thing. So some people can do that. Like that's possible. But then some people have other things. Let me tell anyone listening that is having problems losing weight, get your blood tested, have them look at your insulin, and have them look at your hormones. Get your blood tested and get your hormones tested. Getting my blood tested and the doctor looking and reading my insulin, life-changing. Literally life-changing. So that's one thing. So anyway, so I'm listening to people tell these stories. One of the things that they talk about, like, what is something that's changed that you didn't think would change? A lot of girls are saying that like sometimes like their friends are having kind of issues with their friends because now their friends are just so used to you being the fat funny friend that they don't know how to interact with you now. So all that to say, I truly think sometimes these girls, and like I can think about some of the girls in like a Facebook group I'm in who are just like so vehemently against it. I definitely think that's their problem. Actually, a girl told me she hoped that I got on it and I got like cancer, or like she said, and like I had issues with my colon, something like that. Like people are so mean and evil about, and I think the craziest thing to me is like, and it's people who are supposed to be like on our side, people who are supposed to be for responsibility, people taking this and like, because here's the thing, you have to for it to be effective, you have to take it and you also have to eat better and you have to exercise. What this does is it jumpstarts it. It's so so honestly, I'm only losing about 4, maybe 5 pounds a month. That is so slow. Like I need to lose over 150 pounds. Maybe not over 150, about 150. I probably could get away with a little less than 150. Anyway, my goal is to lose 150 pounds. That's going to take me years. If I was on something like Ozempic, I could probably get that off a year and a half, So like this helps jumpstart people who have been trying for so long. What I think people don't understand, like if you didn't grow up fat, it's not just like growing up fat, it's just so many other things attached to it. And like, I'm sorry, if someone is able to make their life better, if they're able to finally, play with their kids, if they're able to go on trips, if they're able to go skydiving, that's something that I really, really want to do one day. And like, I can't, you can't, once you weigh a certain amount of fat, like that, get that thought out your head. You can't do it. It's not even like no, you can't. No, it's like literally you cannot do it. Like they will not do it with you. So many things and you're going to sit here and say, oh no, like they can't, oh no, you're not like, no, don't do that. You just need to, I can't even, like, all these dumb, stupid excuses. And are there risks? There's risks for everything. Absolutely. Should you know the risk? Sure. Does everybody experience them? No. Not everyone is going to have, like, that's the other thing that just is so crazy. Like, that's just so crazy to me. On the other side of this being obesity, there's like, I'll even say from like my personal life, like my ex called off our wedding because of my weight. On the other side of this obesity could be marriage for me, could be a family. And you're going to sit here and say, like, people sit here and say, what? No, don't do, like, that is just so crazy to me. On the other side is the ability to, be very comfortable when I fly. And you're going to say, no, don't do that. Like, it's not, it's mind-boggling to me. It's so crazy to me how someone can be so against this when it has changed people's lives. I mean, people's like, anyway, why did I go on that rant? I don't know. Let me say a couple of things really quick about, like, I know the other thing I was going to say. And the part that's just so crazy to me also too, when it comes to like the conservatives being so against it, let me read to you a comment I received. I commented on something that was I commented, oops, sorry, I'm on my Instagram. Let me see if I can pull it up. Okay, I'll just read it because I screenshotted it. I commented on a post, a conservative post, standing up for, okay, let me just, sorry everybody, I should have, okay. I commented on a post, oh wow, this is so crazy. So like I commented on a post and I said this particular person ran a great campaign, and this commenter, his name is Jake is a Patriot, he said, I'm glad you're pro-life. Can you also be pro-treadmill? Now, can someone explain to me how edifying that was? Oh, and let's look at Jake is a Patriot's account. Let's see here. He's the father to an amazing son, an amazing daughter. Nikki Haley dropped out already. Donald Trump is winning. Oh, a Christian cross and an American flag. Okay, all right. Jake is a Patriot. Okay, cool. Now, can you explain to me how helpful that was? Can you kind of explain to me, like, how encouraging that is, for a random Christian MAGA guy to say that? I just don't understand how people can be so against something that's helping people. If people actually do, so one of the things that when I went to someone consulting it that wanted to get on it, she was explaining that like the problem is people will get on and be like, they won't change their lifestyle. So it makes you sick. You won't change how you're, trying to be better. And then you don't really lose the weight, or you lose weight and then you gain it right back. That is probably some of the biggest critiques. You lose weight, you gain it right back, and it makes you sick. Well, if you're actually following what the doctors prescribe, like the doctor's going to tell you, hey, you need to eat healthy. You cannot, and you can't binge. You're not supposed to do those things. If you follow those things, then you'll have a better outcome. So it's like these type of people are telling, us fatties, trying to put us in our place. Can you also be pro treadmill? Jokes on him. I have a walking pad, and I've been using it, and I've been losing weight since I found out what my problems were. So, jokes on you. Anyway, sorry, this was like an incomprehensible rant, but I'm just really annoyed with the conversation around these things, around like Ozempic and all that stuff, because it's so crazy to me. Like, I think about all of the things that I've like lost because of obesity, all of the things that I missed out on because of obesity. And there's this opportunity for myself, because it's not just me. I'm not the only one. There's so many other people who have experienced that. And like, if you listen to people's stories about like how their life has changed, and I don't just mean, yes, a lot of people, get married, they're able to get married and they're able to have kids, because here's another thing too. Once you reach a certain amount of weight, it is a lot harder for you to have children. Like, that's just a fact of the matter. It's harder for you to get pregnant, and it's harder for you to actually like carry the child. It becomes more difficult. So you do need to be a healthier weight. Not just that, but like even like social things. Statistically, people like don't believe fat people, in the sense of like, an article I was reading, an article I was reading was something along the lines of like, if a fat person was robbed and a skinny person was robbed, they were more likely to like help and try to protect the fat person, the skinny person, than they were the fat person, because our society just views beauty as like especially for women, like the highest standard. So you're more likely to have a better job if you're thinner. You're more likely to be liked by people. People say stuff like, people smile at them now. Like when they go and sit like on the bus and stuff like that, people actually want to sit next to them. And just think about how like you interact with the world, and you want to take that away from people. Like, people have an opportunity, and like right now it's really expensive. It's not very accessible for people. If you don't, if your insurance doesn't cover it, then do you have like $2,000 a month to invest into this? That's kind of how it is. So people, I don't know. I'm going on and on. I'm excited to see that. Excited to see that special. I'm curious about what she's going to say, because that's the other thing too. I remember Oprah has always tried to lose weight my entire life, which is crazy, because I think about that too. Like, I've been trying to lose weight I remember the very first time I was like notified by my peers that I was like unattractive and fat. It's third grade. I remember it distinctly. Went back to my mom, and then she just started. I would bring my lunch, and like I'd bring like kind of healthier stuff, and we'd do walks and stuff. And then in the fourth grade, I started Weight Watchers. So this has been something I have experienced my whole life. Like, watching everyone else around me go on dates, watching people get asked to prom and things like that. I didn't have that experience because of my size. And like I mentioned, my ex calling off our wedding because anyway, that's a whole nother story. But his main reason was how I looked and my weight. So I'm over it. It is what it is. That's just how the cookie crumbles. That's life. My point is, I definitely can relate to like this just being such like a hard, tough burden, and I'm so happy for her because she looks great. I'm so happy for her. I hope she keeps it off. And it also makes me think of like how kind of sad it is. Like, she's kind of 70 and just now being able to enjoy her life. And I think about that too. Like, I'm gonna be 30 at the end of the year, and like I haven't really enjoyed my life. Like, I want to enjoy my life. And have I done cool, really amazing things? Have I been blessed even with, my size? Absolutely. Like, even though it ended so terribly, the relationship I was in was such a great relationship. That's probably the hardest part. I can't complain about it. He treated me so nice during the relationship. Have I been blessed in those different ways? Absolutely. But life can be so much more, I could be going on dates now, Anyway, enough of this. Let me know. Are you totally against Ozempic? Even after what I just said to you, are you still against it? No, I'm just joking. Everybody, you have a right to your opinion. I think that some of the criticisms and the fact of how sick some people are getting is very fair. And then another criticism is it does seem like a lot of influencers that just need to lose 30 or 40 pounds. They're being given that, where I really do think if you need to lose 100 and plus, that's really that's what it's for people. I personally think that's who it's for. People who have been struggling for years. It's been a years struggle, and they need to lose 100 plus pounds. That's who I think it should only really be saved for. But if you have money in today's society, you can get whatever you want. So that's not who's getting it. Let me know. What do you think? What are your thoughts on it? Yeah. Last story. This is from Variety. Abortion funds at Olivia Rodrigo concert no longer allowed to be distributed. Woo! Sexual health tools are seen as promiscuous. Okay. For those who do not, I'll read the article. Abortion organizations hosted at Olivia Rodrigo's Guts tour will no longer be distributing emergency contraceptives at the singer's concerts. Woo! We did it, Joe. Organizers tell Variety that after widespread media attention, local abortion funds were told Thursday afternoon that they were no longer allowed to hand out free emergency birth control and the reproductive health care resources at the concerts. According to 3 sources at local abortion funds, the decision came from Rodrigo's team and was relayed over Slack by the National Network of Abortion Funds, which partnered with the pop star to set up booths at each of their North American tour stops. Jade Hurley, the communications manager for the DC Abortion Fund, says that NNAF said Rodrigo's team preferred they no longer pass out lubrication, condoms, and Plan B because children are present at the concerts. Quote, the reality is that the youth have sex and youth need access to birth control and an emergency contraceptive. What we're doing is completely legal in all 50 states. End quote. A representative for Rodrigo did not immediately respond to Variety's request. The chair of the Prairie Abortion Fund, which will have a booth at Rodrigo's 15, said there is something really positive about a 16 or 15 Wow, let me read. She said she strongly disagrees with the decision. Quote, there is something really positive about a 16 or 15-year-old having a Plan B and a few condoms in her dresser to use as she needs it. Sex and sexual health tools, whether that be abortion, Plan B, condoms, are villainized because they're seen as being promiscuous. We don't look at it as a sign of responsibility. If the kids aren't getting the education that they need in school, at least they can rely on reproductive health organizations in their communities to get the information and resources to them. End quote. Okay. Let me just triple check. Yeah, that's all I'm going to read from the article. You should read the whole article. Couple things. 15, 16-year-olds should not be having sex. I don't care if you're pro sex before marriage or not. 15, 16-year-olds should not be having sex. One of the consequences, and consequences does not necessarily mean a negative connotation, but one of the results of sex is a child. A 15 and 16-year-old into 2024 is not ready for a child. So they should not be having sex. If they do become pregnant, they absolutely should keep the child. And that is where the community, their parents, their neighbors, their church comes in to help. So there's that on that before you start, saying something. A couple things I want to say. We did it, Joe. I don't know if it really had to do with all of us doing backlash on TikTok or anything, but I'm going to take a little responsibility for that. I posted a video about it on TikTok, on the gram. I want to say I even put it on Twitter. So You're welcome. No, but in all seriousness, it probably has to do with the backlash. Like, it wasn't just me. It was, I'm sure, hundreds, maybe even thousands, probably hundreds of other people kind of just saying like, hey, this is wrong. And there were people who weren't just conservative or pro-life saying like, oh, I don't know if they should be passing out these condoms and Plan B. I mean, Plan B is not some little like fun drug like, oh, pop a Tylenol. No, it's actually kind of serious. So like, people shouldn't, like, the weight of it is serious. And I saw a couple of things, this is going around. If you weigh a certain amount of, back to the weight, because it always comes back to your weight. Anyway, if you weigh a certain amount of weight, Plan B is not going to work. If you are, so it's not going to work. If you are a certain amount of already pregnant, it's not going to work. And if you believe life begins at egg plus sperm, Plan B could kill your child. Because what Plan B does is it makes the uterine lining uninhabitable. So if you believe life begins at implantation, then maybe you don't consider it an abortion. But that doesn't make sense. If you believe it begins at conception, egg plus sperm equals human, it's killing your child. So there's that. Let me think. What else about this article? So I'm glad that they got it taken down. Oh, the other part is that is being villainized, and it's a positive and should be seen as responsible. I think that this goes back to what I talked about and like what I try to conceptualize and like try to relay when I have conversations about these topics is there is a standard. So like, this is the right thing to do. There is a standard, and the goal should always be to be as close to that standard as possible. So the standard is sex between man, woman, and marriage. So what we want to do is encourage sex between man, woman, and marriage. It's not, anything outside of that is not a positive. So you can't say that she says there is something really positive about a 16-year-old having Plan B and a few condoms in her dresser to use as she needs it. That's not a positive. That's outside of the standard. That's outside of like the actual the standard. So anything outside of that isn't considered a positive. Sex education and sexual health tools are villainized because you're promiscuous. It is, I mean, it, like, statistically, the more birth control and things like that are pushed, like, the more sexually active people are, because they think that, well, at least I have birth control, at least I have condoms. Like, it does lead to more promiscuity. And it, like, logically, it does also make sense. Because you think you're good, you think you're safe, so then you're going to go in that direction. So that doesn't make sense to say that. And these kids aren't getting in at school. At least your community should get information and resources to them. So, Noelle, I can never pronounce her last name, but you guys know her on Instagram. She made a video kind of explaining, and I was going to make a video, but then I was like, oh, I'm just parroting the same thing she's going to say, so it would be kind of pointless, I guess. So she made a video essentially saying like a real, like, true empowerment would be to have organizations that are helping women. So if a woman experiences an unplanned pregnancy, like a women's center, an organization that deals with period poverty, or an organization for people who are getting out of domestic violence situations. Like, that is women empowerment. Like, that is like actually helping women. Those would be more empowering. Like, and that is more of what the community should be doing. The community also should be encouraging like a better sexual ethic. I don't have kids, and like, I can't solve all the problems. I think talking too much about it isn't good, and I think not talking about it at all isn't good either. But I think, like, the more I think about it, I think the best thing is like encourage girls specifically to understand like their purity is important, like why it's important. Not necessarily like, don't have sex because you'll go to hell, or don't have sex because guys don't like when girls have sex with a bunch of guys. Like, that's not like the reason. Like, I think that like if we can kind of talk about like how important our bodies are. We had Mary Kate on the podcast, maybe 2-3 years ago at this point. I still think about that podcast. Some of the things that she, like the way she was talking about like women's body was like, yeah, you're right. Like that is empowering. For example, I think this all the time. Like all of the women's organs are like hidden. All of the male organs are like out, and it's hidden, like, like our vagina, the male organ, the penis is out, but the point is like it's like so precious, it's so you can't just let anyone in type of thing. And I think if we talk about sex in those terms, it'll help reduce abortions, it'll help reduce teenage pregnancies, it'll help reduce kids having sex in general. And the people who need to be talking about it specifically are the church, but we can, that's another conversation. But like I think that is how the community helps. And instead of just like, well, they're gonna do it, oh well, like it's not an oh well. Like if this thing is wrong, well, people people are gonna murder, oh well, let's make it easy on, like, if this thing is wrong, we don't continue to like accommodate it, we try to get to the bottom of it, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Once again, we did it, Joe. Like, the pills are out. Shame on you, Olivia. Disappointing. I'm glad I didn't go to your concert now. I am. As a late 20-year-old teenager, I do enjoy her music. I'll admit that. All the Gen Z girls I say that to, they always go cringe, but I do. I do enjoy some of that pop, sad, girly vibe. I'm not feeling it anymore. I'm very disappointed. Because I think there's also a difference. There is a difference between like, yeah, okay, I do think abortion is good, and actively doing things to participate. They're both wrong, don't get me wrong. And there are some celebrities I'm like, if I could just sit down with them, like, I can change them. I just know it. They haven't heard a different perspective, But there's that, and there's people who are and that's not okay. It's not okay. There is a particular, yeah, I'm not going to go back and forth. I was going to say something, but I don't feel like doing that right now. So yeah, so those are the stories for this week. I hope you enjoyed them. My little emotional rant about my weights was probably a lot, and probably shouldn't have shared as much as I did, but oh well. I will eventually, I want to say maybe when I get halfway to my goal, which, is going to take forever. If I'm only losing like 4 to 5 pounds a month, when I get to like, maybe I'm thinking of like doing like a more in-depth video about like my feelings and like all this other stuff. Because a couple people have asked about it. They wanted to know my opinion on certain things, and everybody knows I'm very anti-health at every size. I don't really believe in body positivity. I do believe that every human being has dignity, and like, just because you're fat doesn't mean you're worthless. I don't think you're a drain on the system. I also don't think you should go up to random people, are you pro treadmills? Well, like, I don't think that's, I think every human being has dignity and is worth conversation and is a human, and I don't judge people based on how they look, but that's just me. Forgive me, that's just me. But I don't believe in health at every size. Anyway, all that to say, I will do a video on that, probably just like a more in-depth personal video on that a little bit later. If you're thinking about me, pray about this journey. It is something that I am really struggling with. It's expensive to lose weight, and it is exhausting, kind of sort of doing it by yourself, I guess you could say, and like, yeah. So pray for me if you're praying for that, and pray that like my life really does change, because your girl needs it. And then also let me know, do you think being trans do you forfeit the rules? That'll be the our multiple, not multiple choice, I'm gonna say true or false. Our this or that will be about the trans question I asked, and then the like essay question will be about Ozempic. Like, do you think this is a good thing? You think it's a positive? Are you still very skeptical? Once again, like, I'm not mad at you. I want to say, if you are against Ozempic, I have like a probably I have one close personal friend that is like very much against it, and I'm not mad at her. Like, we have conversations about it, and I get frustrated, sure. But I'm not mad. I mean, I'm not mad at her. We have lived very different lives. You know, she's married, she has a kid. Like, you know, she doesn't understand how it feels to be me. And to like have struggled with your weight your entire life, and to watch, you know, everyone, you know, live different lives that you wish you could live, but you literally can't. So, you know, I'm not mad at her. And I'm not mad or like judgy to people who are like very much against it. I get frustrated and mad at people who, you know, are mean about it. Like, that is what I get mad and frustrated about. But like, if you disagree, like, that's perfectly fine. Like, you can disagree. You're wrong. I'm just joking. Well, I think you're wrong, but you can disagree. That's fine. Let me know. I'm very curious. Like, I do want to hear people's opinions. Once again, it's probably not going to change my opinion, because once I have a lived experience, and like, I have seen how people's I mean, look at Girl with No Job. Perfect example. I mean, she's a different person. Practically a different person. Because that's how it is. Society cares so much about how we look. Which, last thing I'm going to say on this, one that's very important to me that I have been trying to work on is like not being that person. Like I said, statistically, you are less likely to be believed if you're unattractive / fat. You are less likely to have decent jobs. People do not want to interact with you. You're kind of invisible. Like, I have experienced some of this stuff. You guys will not believe how invisible I am when I'm with certain friends. Like, anyway. I am trying really hard not to be like that, specifically because I am a Christian, and because that's not how God wants things to be. Like, that's not how God designed things. God talks all the time about how our character is what's important, and our society doesn't really put as much focus and emphasis on character. I want to be one of those people that does do that. Like, I want to care more about people's character and like who they are on the inside than I do on the outside.